between your arms.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, June 5th. It is 9 a.m. All council members, with the exception of Vice Mayor Adderholt, who has an excused absence, are present. Town manager, town attorney, and town clerk. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have 3 items for discussion today. The first is a presentation by Lumen Solution Services. Who is here from Lumen? I didn't get your name beforehand, sir. I apologize. Come on up.
Thank you.
Mayor Allers, council members, good morning.
Just pull that mic up for us. So a little bit. There you go.
It's a little bit better?
Perfect.
Perfect. Mayor Allers, council members, good morning and thank you for the opportunity to present before you in the town of Fort Myers Beach. My name is David Zekman. I'm the Director of Government Affairs in the state of Florida for Lumen Technologies. As you're aware, Lumen began building our quantum fiber network on Fort Myers Beach in 2024. Most of the project consisted of burying our fiber optic cables underground. In an effort to minimize disruption to property owners, we utilized horizontal borers while installing our new infrastructure. We successfully completed our project in May of 2024 and now provide fiber to just under 3,000 homes in the community. Fort Myers Beach is one of many communities that Lumen has deployed fiber to in the state of Florida, and in calendar year 2024, Lumen invested approximately $330 million in the state of Florida. Quantum Fiber offers cutting-edge fiber optic internet solutions that deliver seamless, ultra-fast speeds and reliability. Lumen offers streamlined implementation to the home or small business. We run the fiber lines and connect them to your infrastructure. As you can see on this slide, Lumen Technologies is a multinational corporation with a portfolio of exceptional telecom and technology brands. Most folks around the state recognize us as CenturyLink, a reliable copper-based internet and voice service provider, and now we are proud to offer quantum fiber in your community. Quantum Fiber is an ultra-fast fiber internet service and an all-digital customer experience for residential and small businesses. Most plans offer symmetrical internet speeds, are 99.9% reliable. Our plans do not require an annual contract, and they come with 24/7 customer service. Many of you may ask why fiber. A single fiber optic strand delivers everything from internet to video to voice, and with the ongoing adoption and increased use of internet-based goods such as laptops, tablets, smartphones, video streaming on your TV, Wi-Fi enabled security systems and cameras, our homes are using more and more data, which has multiplied the demand for bandwidth from internet providers. One key benefit of fiber is the economic impact on real estate. According to Fiber Broadband Association's 2023 research, homes with fiber optic connectivity can see an average increase in value of just under 5%. A similar increase is seen in condominiums and rental units. Another key benefit to quantum fiber is the resiliency of the network during extreme weather events. As we've all seen over the last 10 years or so in Florida, especially on the Gulf Coast, have been battered by a number of named storms. Like many other utility providers, Lumen has responded by burying our new infrastructure and facilities underground, providing a more resilient network to critical services when they are needed most. Much of our restoration and investment has been focused on some of the hardest hit parts of Southwest Florida, areas like Fort Myers Beach, Port Charlotte, Cape Coral, Sanibel Island, and others. During hurricane season, Lumen's business continuity unit builds our hurricane response team to ensure that we are prepared and equipped for any storm or event. Our actions include pre-positioning our restoration crews and equipment, such as generators, to keep our network functioning when commercial power is out. This is all in an effort to operate our network with as little downtime as possible. Additionally, we work closely with Florida's Department of Emergency Management, county EOCs, and local governments to ensure that our services are working correctly or being restored on a priority basis. How can you find if your home or small business has quantum fiber? You can simply go to quantumfiber.com, enter your address, and this will tell you if Quantum Fiber is available at your property. Quantum Fiber plans start at $50 per month and offer speeds starting at 500 megabytes per second and go to 8 gigabytes per second. Thank you for your time, partnership, and joining the growing number of cities transforming their communities with Quantum Fiber. I'm happy to answer any questions.
David, can you go back one screen there to your pricing?
Mhm.
So that's your speed. How much data do you get? Is it unlimited data for all those? Each each one of those is unlimited data?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the bandwidth, the 500 megabytes.
And that
through the-
speeds, I'm guessing, up to,
Up to 8 gigabytes, yes.
so how, I understand how the fiber optics gets to the home. How do you get from outside the home, into whatever, I'm guessing a router, modem, whatever you use? How do you, obviously cable has coax, so how do you get from the outside service to the inside service?
So we would run from our infrastructure in the right of way, usually in a handhole, and then we would run a fiber line directly into the home, similar to how coax is run. We would
Okay.
typically trench that in the private property and connect it to the infrastructure in the home.
And is that a cost included in the installation, or is that a cost that goes to the?
We
owner?
carry that cost as a company. I think it's up to
$1,500 per home. If we-
You need
You
to
gotta
be
come
on
up
the
to the
mic.
mic so we can hear you. You gotta
Introduce
identify
yourself.
yourself, yeah, please.
My name is Jason, I'm the director of the area manager here.
Okay.
So the $1,500 is allotted per customer's home. That includes boring, trenching to get the drop to what we refer to as a slack box on the side of the house. The home installation is included, there is no charge for home installation. We prefer to get a fiber line the same way we do cable TV and our telephone service, to get it directly inside. To achieve the speeds of 8 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte, you need to have fiber optics. That speeds will not carry through Cat 5 cable, network
Right.
cable when not transitioned. You can get it through Cat 6, but you really want a fiber optic line in there to sustain those speeds. If we run into issues where we do have cost problems, we share costs with a neighbor or another potential customer that hasn't signed up for service yet, but we prep their property, we prep another handhole. So 99.9% of the time the charges I see come in, there is no cost to the customer at all. No cost. We work together with the customers. Things change because of routes or utilities or stuff like that, but we work around those roadblocks and service to customers.
What can you tell me about what your head unit is? Is it a modem router combo, or is it a?
First it comes into an ONT, an optical node transmitter,
Yeah,
that
okay.
receives the light, converts that light into usable Ethernet, right?
And would
So
that
we
be
come-
outside the house then? Or
That's
that-
inside the home.
That is inside.
Yeah, they're a 6500, we have 3 different models. We have a 5500 series, we have a 6500 series, and we have a 1000. The 1000 is new to our inventory, but it takes replacement of the 55 and 65. The 5500s are meant for GPON technology, different wavelengths. The 6500s are meant for XGS technology, different wavelength. That's why they have to be separated. The 1000 we just got in the market takes both wavelengths, can read any wavelength out there. So that will be our core product going in. Once the ONT is there and is authorized, we have a Wi-Fi 7 technology, 1700 router. So that has Wi-Fi 7 built into it. Coverage rate is between 25 to 3,000 square feet for that one device. So we plug from the ONT into that router. That router controls the entire home. My technicians need to walk through the home with our customers to verify they have adequate coverage throughout the home. It's called a Wi-Fi survey test. Once that test is completed, the test will tell us he's weak in this area, he needs an extender. That extender is not a charge. So we go out, we get an extender, we plug it in, we program, we walk the house again, all areas covered, and the installation is done. That equipment does not carry a cost to the customer at all. We just want to ensure that everywhere inside the home, and that's important, is inside the home, is covered adequately with our service.
Well, you answered that question. So it's just a plug-in and extender. It's not a hardwired from.
No.
The wavelength part of it, for those of the people that
Mhm.
maybe don't understand, are you talking about the 2.4, 5 gigahertz type
No,
of thing?
that's Wi-Fi technology. The wavelengths I'm talking about is 14 to 70 nanometers. It's a wavelength on glass. So that's what the ONT interprets and reads and backhauls out of and transports in. So the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz, that's your Wi-Fi signal in the house. 2.4 is notoriously for distance. 5 gigahertz is for speed and short distance. So a lot of the phones nowadays, some of them are actually Wi-Fi 7 compatible, some of them aren't even in that technology yet, but so we're future-proofed up to 7 already. One of the only providers out there that carry the Wi-Fi 7 technology. Most phones are in 6, everything's transparent in a home. You don't see the separation of a 2.5 or a 5. The router does all the management of those devices. If it knows it's a 2.5, it puts it on the 2.5. If it knows it's a 5, it keeps it on the 5. Everything is
So it does it all internally, you don't have to
all
set it up.
internally, yeah.
Scott, got any questions?
We got a couple. What's the cost for a business? Same?
That's something I'd have to get our sales team to follow up with you on.
Usually it's
Um,
different.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of bandwidth they're looking for.
Okay. And do you still need it? I mean, before the storm, I had a shop and we had to have a static IP. Do you offer that, or do you still need a static IP with this or no?
Static IP is being worked on with Quantum Fiber right now. We can get it for businesses. It's not published right now because we're still working on that. It's a little difficult to get, but we are bringing it to Quantum Fiber. Businesses, I have installed connected businesses with static IPs.
Okay.
But
Can you
it's
do
not, it's not an offered service yet. We have to work with back office people because, you know, maybe they lost their copper service
Right.
and they need to have that, so we have to work with that customer, make sure that we're flawless.
So
and seamless.
with regards to the storm, I know you guys lost your 765 exchange. Is that back now?
No.
No.
No, we have our trailer down there temporarily, that we saw in the picture. That trailer is still there, and it's running our core equipment for the fiber. Real estate portion of Lumen is still looking into that, building what we're gonna do with it,
Where's your central office?
right here on the beach.
Really?
The one with the microwave towers?
Yeah, that's your CO?
That's our main
Okay.
CO. For Fort Myers Beach, and the Stero Bonito runs down that way.
Okay.
We lost that building, obviously, so we had to bring in an emergency trailer, and that trailer has our core network in it for our fiber optics.
Do you think, what's your timeline to get that exchange
That
back?
would be a real estate, I don't wanna give a time. Real
That-
estate, that's totally different department that works on that.
Right.
They're working on the real estates.
Okay,
But they understand the core equipment that's housed in that trailer is required.
okay,
We just need to get back, or if we're gonna go back in that building, what we're gonna do.
okay, awesome. That's all I have.
Back to the static IP, so can you set up static IPs in the home once you leave the modem or the router? Can you,
You can, a lot of people that do that I see historically have their own equipment, their own networking equipment. Once they're in that depth, our Wi-Fi 7 gear is for the common residential customer that wants ease of setup, plug and play, and doesn't want to worry about doing VLAN, static IPs, subnetting, and any of that technology, correct? So when the businesses come in, or a more advanced user, they normally have their own network set up already. When I install services down in Port Royal, in some of those homes,
Yeah.
they don't want to get that out. They don't even want it. They have their own IT guy on site. They're setting up everything. We just do a handoff. So
Okay.
it depends a lot on the customer. And their needs.
I just wanted to make sure that it was available. I mean, you could still do it.
Yeah.
Because to your point, some people are worried that everybody's looking at their business.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Karen, questions?
You lost me at quantum fiber plans. So I would need a one-on-one tutorial if I decide to do this, because this is my husband's deal. This is not my deal.
It's the residential side of the business is very plug and play. We want to make it as easy as possible. I mean, if fiber is the common means of transport now for data, and everybody relies on it so heavily, you just cannot get the symmetrical speeds that we offer, 8 gig, 3 gig, up to a gig, off of coaxial cable. You're not going to get that consistently. I spent 20 years in telecommunications in Seattle working on the coaxial side and cell towers. That's not achievable. So they were even converting to glasses. Actually, to be fiber optics in that time was cheaper than running coaxial. The copper was
Yeah.
more expensive than the glass.
Yeah.
So it was a smart business decision. It future-proofed us for down the line, and that's what we're seeing now with the 8 gig service. We have that capacity now. Glass is glass, and it is fast, and it's meant to be plug and play. Get
What
to a
are-
house, there's nothing you do.
What are you seeing for drop off from your up to speeds to what your actual in-home speeds are?
I have 1 gig at my house, and I get about 930 on my cell phone,
You do.
and I have a iPhone 16.
So is yours similar to cable, and the further down the line you are, the slower the
No,
speed?
sir.
Or is it because it's
It's
fiber?
glass, yeah.
It's
Light
glass.
on, light off. With coaxial, we had networks called HFC networks, hybrid fiber to coax. So basically, every customer in my cable world, fiber was to the node branched off the trunk amplifiers and line extenders. So theoretically, every customer was on fiber at the backhaul at the node, but your coaxial cable had a lot of temperament, weather changes, temperature changes, you had automatic gain controls that had to be adjusted, you had a lot of preventative maintenance that had to be maintained and adjusted on a coax system. Fiber, light on, light off. I mean, there can be a light level issue where something came in, maybe a macro bend or something like that in the cabinet, but the maintenance and preventative maintenance that we have to do on fiber is a lot lower.
Are you guys feeding the cell towers too?
Yeah, we do, we have cell towers.
Okay. On the beach?
On the beach, yes.
Yeah.
They're in that trailer. That's why it's a core piece of our infrastructure.
Sure.
So does that make it 5G or 7G or?
That's up to them. We only provide a backhaul.
Okay, gotcha.
We're transport. Their technology they want to launch is them. We provide the backbone. Same thing I have on Sanibel. You know, we have multiple towers out there. We give you the transport, what you do with it, how you segment that out to your customers, technology you utilize. That's their business decision.
So to give you an example, Karen, for a gig with cable, just say you have a gig package, you're lucky to get a third of the actual speed.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you
And
know,
that's gonna be hardwired directly
Especially-
into
that's
the-
hardwired directly
Especially like
into.
at my house at the end of the street.
At the end of the street,
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
the problem you've always
You're
had.
lucky to get half.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
if you catch it, and then as it gets used with Wi-Fi and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
does yours go down? Like, obviously, you know, with Comcast, peak season, 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, people are refreshing to
Get
go
on.
back out, and everybody's using it, it
Now,
goes
now
way
you're
down.
talking about congestion.
Yes.
Congestion of the node. We have a NOx center that monitors congestion and our usage rates. And we have, you know, levels, they have min to max levels. Once we hit a threshold, before it becomes obvious to a customer, we're already looking at what we refer to as a segmentation.
Same with
Getting more-
DirecTV
getting
did
more
for
back
years.
on.
They take power from here to put it over here to keep everybody. There's a
We,
storm over here.
We
We're gonna
stay
put it over
consistent.
here.
My house, with all my children and grandkids, we have TV streaming. I mean, we're a streaming
Everybody's
group
doing
now.
it.
I mean, everybody does that. I don't have TV, I stream everything. Same with the kids, iPad kids, and working from home, remote workers. That capacity is needed, and we don't have that fluctuation.
And that's another good question. So these plans, is it unlimited devices connected to it?
Unlimited devices.
Okay.
So I was a little flippant when I said that, but I was serious. But if you wanted to have something like this at your home and you wanted a quote or you wanted to know what happened, who do we call? How do we get a hold of people? It's up there?
You go to that website.
Okay.
That'll tell you, A, whether or not you qualify in
Okay.
your area. There are, you know, bits and pieces of segmented of areas. You know, on Sanibel, there's certain areas that don't have that technology and wasn't built in. There are certain bits and pieces carved out in every community from here down to Miami that I watch. We have carved out for reasons. But you go to that website, anybody can find out what they offer. They do run specials, and they'll pop up on there to tell you what you qualify. Maybe you don't qualify for the 8 gig, so you won't even see it broadcast on your webpage. Maybe your top speed for your area is only 5 gig. But it lays it out right there, and then it walks you through what the expectations are, what you should expect on installation day. We come a couple days prior to basically survey your yard. Do we need a buried drop? We do. We put that buried service request in before your appointment. All right, we attach the equipment outside the home. We notate, hey, this can be done without waiting for the drop to be buried. We can temporarily from the handhold to the house without causing interference to a driveway, walkway, anybody tripping hazards or stuff like that. We can do that. We move right along with your install service, like a day or two after. If we have to wait for a buried service to be put in due to safety reasons, concerns, driveways, sidewalks, crossed road bore, multiple driveway pushes, then you may be pushed out another 7 days until that work is done by our subcontractor. But normally you should be from start to finish about 10 days.
Okay.
Quicker if we can ground lay and establish your service.
All right. Quantum.com. Got it.
Quantum.com.
Any other questions?
No.
John?
Just leave your contact information, please. There's a couple of issues that I would like to talk offline, but
Okay.
other than that, nothing that I need to discuss. Thank you.
Well, happy to report that I qualify for that.
All right, I qualify.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we're typing our address in as we go.
And I am local to the area. I am up in southwest Cape Coral, right below Matlacha.
Okay.
So this is my district. I am in Cypress Lake, which feeds here. Cypress Lake Technicians, my team there. is responsible for the installs and repair services here. My Cape Coral team is responsible for Sanibel, but I'm all the way from Lake Okeechobee all the way down by Miami is my district. So I have I have about 127 technicians on my team, and I try to actively engage and be at those exchanges at least once a week. Talk to team members, try to focus on problems, escalations, community affairs, and stuff like that. And David knows how to get a hold of me. If there's something needed, he knows the bat phone. I'm always available. I love the community. I was down here on day 0 after the hurricane, running the fiber for FEMA to the church to establish communications for the residents here in Fort Myers Beach.
Wow, thank
We
you.
were down here immediately to get that fiber ready for FEMA so that the residents of the beach could be taken care of and cared for properly.
Perfect, we appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dan.
I'm
Appreciate
sure
it.
you'll be hearing from people.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it. Any other questions?
No, I think we got it. If, you know, we could probably use it here right now. I'm looking, getting the spinning wheel of death and trying to use the internet. So people may or may not have heard what you were just saying, but we'll make sure that we get it out there so people can get it.
Great. Well,
All
thank
right.
you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you.
David.
You guys do free for the town, right?
Right.
He was kidding.
I was kidding, just kidding.
All right, the next is the discussion of annexation of San Carlos Island. Counselor King, I believe this was your item.
It was and is. You know, at the time, I had said that I would take everyone off the funny pages, and I think I accomplished that for a while. And I know there's a dinky podcaster that doesn't find it as riveting as There's a Frog in My Fan, or should I say riveting, rivet.
Oh.
But
Oh, boy.
someone much smarter than I suggested the town look into that possibility of annexing San Carlos Island. And I'll give you my thoughts on it. San Carlos Island is already linked and identified as Fort Myers Beach. I thought it would give those residents local representation. I know at times we've all seen that those folks have felt they're not getting what they need from being unincorporated from Lee County. So it would give them a chance to be a part of Fort Myers Beach and be a part of this council and have candidates. I thought it would also add to the town's population. But I think the biggest thing that I thought was most people view this as the front door to Fort Myers Beach, and it would give us some control over the look of that front door. Now, I know folks aren't happy about the discussion, and all it is a discussion. And I'm always willing to listen or talk about almost anything. But I tell you, I don't have a need, knowing the cost and everything else, to move forward with this, but mainly because I heard the vice mayor give an interview where he suggested a way to work with Lee County regarding the look of the entrance to Fort Myers Beach. And I think if we can accomplish that, I'm very happy with having brought this up at this time. So, again, I'm not looking to spend money on a feasibility study. I know that's required. But to me, that's the most important part is most people think of that as our front door and how does that look? And I'd like to have at least some discussions with the county to figure out how to make that more presentable. I know there's a building there that with a newspaper that it looks like they finally started addressing some issues there. I don't know what stage they're in, but it would be nice to have some things taken care of over there.
All right. Yeah, I you know, right after the storm, obviously, I had a lot of people come up and, you know, were concerned that they weren't getting the attention, if you will, that Fort Myers Beach was when it comes to cleaning up the boats and stuff. But, you know, Ray Sendelli at the time, he and I talked all the time. He got on it as fast as he could. You know, the county obviously had a lot more coverage than the town of Fort Myers Beach
Sure.
to do. But those conversations have all but stopped. To me, I haven't had one person come up and say that they're unhappy with the service that they're getting from Lee County. And I think we have a good relationship with the county. I think.
And this is not in any way intended to ruin that relationship. I know I contacted Commissioner Mullica before I brought it up, just to give him a heads up because I didn't want to blindside him. There is nothing in my mind against the county that I would bring up. Just those were the issues that I thought I wanted to see addressed.
Councilor Woodson, any comments?
Well, a couple of comments, because people, took this and ran with it like we're taking over the whole
Sure.
population.
You don't say.
But, I mean, I look at different aspects of something like that. I mean, would there be, and not that we're going to do it, but would there be boundaries? Because is it all the way to Pine Island, or Pine Ridge Road? Or is it just to Hurricane Pass? Or, there could be different criteria with it if we decided to do anything like this. Obviously it came across very unpopular, but, it's something, I mean, maybe not now. I think there's a lot of things that we still need to do on our own beach, to get things back in order and what we, moving along, but, in the future, who knows? But to put some criteria around it, or at least some, point or demarcation lines, if you will, of where we would even be thinking, might help some of the noise, as well as getting a better understanding of, tax benefits, homeowner benefits, Lee County versus Fort Myers Beach benefits, whatever that may be. I mean, I think just throwing it out there and just saying, oh, forget it, we're not gonna do it, without giving it some real teeth, if you will. Just a thought.
Yeah, for me, it's along the lines of one thing I wanted to say before I moved on was the biggest challenge I found after Hurricane Ian was the fact that outside entities, outside of Lee County and outside of Fort Myers Beach, national entities didn't understand where those boundaries were.
Exactly.
They still don't.
They still don't, and the town of Fort Myers Beach, for lack of a better word, hasn't been punished, for lack of a better word, because of the zip code, the way the zip code is. So, although when it comes to annexation, in my mind, I think if someone wants to annex, it should come from the place that wants to be part of something else. It shouldn't be the place that wants to bring someone in. If San Carlos Island and all of the rest of 33931 zip code want to be part of Fort Myers Beach, they should be the ones, in my
Sure,
opinion,
voluntarily,
initiating it. I don't think we should pursue hey, come join us. If
Right.
they want to join us, we'll certainly listen. But for me, the lines of trying to get better communication with higher entities, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is if we can figure out a way to say, listen, when we'll just use FEMA, if you're coming in to do an analysis on something, you need to know what actually is within the control of the Council of Fort Myers Beach,
Right.
and what isn't. Going back to these properties, many were not even on our island, that had no controllers. We've all gotten the emails about Vixens. How can you guys let a strip club go on Fort Myers Beach? It's
Not our
not Fort
call.
Myers Beach. We can't control that. Our jurisdiction ends at the base of the bridge. A lot of people don't know that. And to me, that's more important to get that worked out versus the annexation part. Scott?
Well, I'm a numbers guy, so I'd have to look at, to even take the next step, we gotta look what the costs are, what the benefits are. And to Karen's point, where do you draw that line? Does it mirror the zip code? Does it mirror what, the fire department's area is? I mean, where do we draw the line? And if we're just talking, John, about the door, our doorstep to our town, maybe just a spot annexation of the Estero Boulevard right there. That could be feasible too. I mean, that's something we might look at.
St. Carlos Boulevard?
I mean,
San
San Carlos, yeah. So from Hurricane Pass down. I don't know. I mean, it's.
And I understand and I appreciate that, Scott. Well, I guess what I would like to see us do is what the mayor suggested, as well as encourage the town manager and to reach out to the county to try and work together to do that. So we don't have to make people feel upset or angry, or it can be a positive thing, I think, and I would like to see that.
Yeah, I think it's important to reiterate again to, Commissioner Maleka, because he and I also have a conversation about it. Basically, when you guys not happy with what we're doing, it has nothing
Yeah.
to do with that.
Nope, not at all, and I tried to express that to him. It's, I think he took it personally, and I didn't intend for him to do that. I don't intend for the county to do that. Like I said, Since I've got on this council, we've done a fantastic job, in my mind, of working together with the county on so many things, and I'd just like to see that continue.
So I guess, is everybody in agreement to just have staff in their free time? Maybe work on some sort of strategy of how we can delineate between, in the state of emergency, just use that as an example of, alerting officials that make decisions on things that affect our residents, trying to find a way to make sure that they understand when they're doing their analysis, that they're analyzing the right area. That's a bigger concern for me. Everybody all right with that kind of direction?
Yes.
I know it's very broad, Will, I
Understood.
apologize, but I think you see what we're trying to do here.
Well, should they look at, the different levels of it's just the island, it's just, San Carlos Boulevard, is it all, the entire zip code? You wanna take that next step, or you just wanna?
For me, no, simply just because, again, if the people of San Carlos Island are not happy and they want, I think that should be initiated from their residents, not necessarily from the five of us sitting up here.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
And if they wanna take that step, and to your point, if they wanna worry about just that corridor, I'm certainly open to having a discussion with them, but I don't want to be the one, personally, I don't wanna be the one that initiates that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That study, or that, if they wanna talk about it, come to us and talk about it, and we'll take it to the next level if that's
I mean,
what they want.
that strip has so many businesses that do business on Fort Myers Beach.
Sure.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons, but like you said, I'm numbers too, and if it doesn't make sense for both sides, then it doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
So I'm willing to, John, leave it at, if they wanna have the conversation, come to us, we'll have a conversation, but, I don't wanna use status quo, but I guess status quo for me is fine the way it is, with the exception of the direction we've kinda given.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a meeting with the county manager next week. I'll make sure I discuss it with Dave Harner
Okay.
during that meeting. And I've got some upcoming meetings with the FEMA administrators for our area. I'll make sure that I discuss it with them as a reminder of where the boundaries are, and anyone else would, and I'll direct the staff to do the same.
Yeah, and I mean, to FEMA's credit, when we did give them the information saying, hey, this is, they corrected it very quickly, but if there's a way to eliminate that step, both for them on their end to spend all that time and energy, and then us to spend the energy of sending it back, we all know that when you go back and forth, it takes a lot more time and energy and money, so I appreciate that. Any other discussion on this before we move on, John?
None.
All right, our next agenda item is the parking and discussion regarding parking on Fort Myers Beach. Yeah, so did you bring this forward? I don't know who brought it forward.
I did not bring it forward. That came from
From
council.
you guys.
I'm not sure who brought it up. I said like to go to whoever brought it up. I'm trying to see.
It's about summer parking passes or
Oh.
extending
I
our
think
parking
there's-
passes.
Oh, yeah, maybe I did.
In your spare time?
Well, yeah, right. Well, I'm just, parking could be things. Is it parking garage? Is it, it wasn't, it just says parking. So, no, I think we had some discussion about, would it make sense to, there's been some interest from our constituents to, we've got the $25 pass or whatever it is where you could park under the bridge. Would it make sense to offer a year-round pass to be able to park, kind of like what we're doing for now, that people could buy? They're from people I've talked to me, they're willing to pay a little bit more for that pass to be able to park, at any beach access if they want to go somewhere. Versus they understand, $25 is probably not going to be the number to allow them to park year-round, because parking is our second largest line item in our budget. So that was the discussion I wanted to bring. Does it make sense to do that or keep it the way it is? Because I do think that people would pay more to have because I believe they do it for parks. You can pay and park at any of the county parks. You could get a pass to park at any, something that's maybe kind of like the quantum fiber. You've got 3 or 4 different levels of things that you could purchase on a sticker. Don't need to go that much, but just using that as the example. Is that something that the council's willing to go down the road and look at? I don't want to put any more work on the staff than necessary, but what is that dollar amount? I mean, there would have to be some numbers, I would think, don't you, Scott, that would need to show us, what does each spot in the town of Fort Myers Beach garner
$4,000.
per year?
Good morning. Counselor Safford is correct. It's about $4,000 a year on average. We do 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night is enforcement. So anytime outside that scope, it's pretty much open parking. Having them park year-round in any legitimate, lawful, and safe Fort Myers Beach parking spot is just an issue of trying to break down how much more we want to add to that fee for town residents. So if you had another, I won't give you off the cuff number. Something we'd have to sit down and dig harder into as for what that would be a fair number for that. This time of year, it makes a lot of sense. Our traffic diminishes appreciably as we come out of season, and having more open spaces allowed for our residents from the south side of the island to come up and be able to get into downtown makes a lot of sense. In season, it's going to be a little harder. Just like we know, I mean, any parking spot is kind of a, for lack of a better expression, a use tax, and it is a big line item for us financially. So I don't know, by allowing them to do it year round, it would diminish that tremendously, honestly, because not everybody's in the downtown every day, all day. So in
And a
most
lot
of
of
our
us just take our bikes if we're going.
Correct.
somewhere,
Right.
'cause it's-
because you don't want to deal with the traffic anyway. So I don't know that it's going to be an appreciable difference for town residents to have it year round, to park wherever they would like. I would ask that if we do say that to them, that there's a time space to that, just like we do with our handicap parking, because a town in good faith has allowed anybody who has a handicap placard, no matter anywhere in North America, if they come in with a valid, legitimate handicap placard, they can park in any town spot for up to 4 hours for free. So maybe we accommodate it in that kind of manner. You can park in any spot for that, and if you want to park under the bridge, our beach access is already open to our town residents all year round. So they can park there anytime. Only Wasting Away was precluded, and that was before me. I don't know if that was a council decision. I can't find any paperwork as to why it was set up that way. I didn't know if it was, but my understanding, it was not put into the business plan from Margaritaville. It was just something that was decided at some point.
Yeah, it might have been into the conditions of, who knows.
I just can't find it in the paperwork, so we've accommodated it because that's how I was brought in with it.
And then there's also been people that have reached out that outside of the beach that would be interested in buying stickers. Is there a path to provide a limited amount of stickers to people outside of the island, and you could park underneath the bridge, so to speak? Or-
So I would have to defer to legal on limiting that. I'm sure there's probably a way to it, but I will say it again, because it's a use tax, we would be diminishing some of our income with that. I don't know that there's enough deferred income from the businesses that would make up for that for the town as our operating income. There is a path for them to have something on the island already, and that's Lee County does a parks pass, like you spoke to, and that's for Bowditch. It does not work for Lynn Hall, so even Lee County recognizes that there's certain parts of the island that are more financially lucrative for the community to maintain some of that use tax.
Sure. And then the other thing in there is, and I did have a conversation with Dave Harner when we were up at the ELC, Will, about, there's a lot of confusion, I'm sure you get it, I know I get it, I get emails about it, they go, I got this ticket, and most often, it's from a private lot, it's not from, or it's from Lee County's lot, it's not from
Yes,
the
sir.
town of Fort Myers Beach, everybody just assumes all the parking is the town of Fort Myers Beaches. So I had an initial conversation with Dave Harner about, is there a way we can look at a unified app or a unified signage, so that it can alert, if someone's, what I'm trying to get at is, I don't want people that get something in Lynn Hall Park to reach out to us to say, or reach out to you and say, hey, I got a ticket 1 minute over, what are you gonna do about it? And then you gotta send them somewhere else, or vice versa. I'm sure the county gets people that get tickets from us that are just outside Lynn Hall Park. On our lots, they're saying, well, you gave me a ticket a minute after I went over, which I'm being facetious, but.
So yeah, we do get some of that crossover, but it's limited, honestly.
Is it?
The
Okay.
county has just gone to a new parking program, where they do camera parking, through some of their stuff. It's a trial run to the best of my knowledge, and they're gonna test it out, see how it works for them. It's been tried in other places. Some places were successful with it, some places were not. So we do stuff, through sworn officers. Our sworn rangers are the ones who issue the summons. which gives us a pathway to the magistrate if, you know, if we can't come to some type of consideration with the person who's been here visiting. And to be very honest, we do speak to the residents who come and get summons here, to any citizen that gets a summons here. They speak to me or one of my coordinators, and we're very accommodating to that. The only time that we really are pursuing the summons to its final magistrate issue is when you have somebody who's constantly doing the same thing, and they're just not paying attention to what the consideration for other citizens are by taking up a spot, not paying for it, and allowing some of that income for the town.
We did have someone, I believe you were here, Frankie, the guys that came in, I can't remember what firm they're from, but that had that
Yes, sir.
camera set up where it takes a picture essentially of each spot, and it manages everything essentially for the town as far as violations if they go over, tracking all that down. They were willing to come in and do a test thing for us. I don't remember what the fee, you know, they got a percentage of the revenue, but I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it makes sense to look back into that again. Obviously, Milton came in and slowed a lot of progress down on things like that.
They take a substantial amount of the money, and I'm not diminishing those services. You still have control when we maintain it. If you give that off to a third party, you lose a little bit of that control of being able to work with the citizens to help people and do whatever. It's
Well,
just-
but I mean, I think you still would have control over it. I looked at it more as if it would free up you and your guys to do other things other than
the-
driving around looking at cars that maybe are an hour past their time.
That's
you
the smallest part of what we do right now, Mr. Mayor. Honestly, the ticket.
know? It is now.
Well, when I took
4 years ago, it wasn't.
Well, that was a different, that was a
Right.
different, team there.
Yeah.
My background's a little different, and parking to me is something that's important to maintain for safety. It's not an income thing for us. Yes, it is there is an income factor to it, but if you look at where we were 4 years ago and how my team runs it and what my decision was through the town management was that we wanna keep the wheels on the bus here, but we don't wanna be jackboots either.
Right.
We're not here to try to beat people up, and if you look at what we do, and the town manager gets a report on this, Frankie, before the new town manager, we void somewhere between 40 and 45% of our tickets at this point. And before I took over, it was a lot less than that, so.
Well, I think it's important the numbers that I've seen, the tickets have gone way down, but the revenue has gone up.
Yes, sir.
So it just goes to show you the plan is working, right?
Yes, sir. It's education, and that was the mission that was given to me when I came in, is that we need to stop banging people over the head with the hammer, the Acme hammer, and more, let's sit and talk to people, let them understand why it's helpful for the town, for people to pay for this use tax, and what it does for our services, allows us to maintain our roads and maintain our waterways and stuff. That's part of what this money is.
All right. Well, I don't want to, what do you guys think about, is it something that we want to have them spend any time to look into to see if it is feasible to do?
If I may interject real quick.
Sure.
I know the city of Sanibel used to do it out of season for the beach access, where you could pay ahead and get a beach pass, which allowed you to park at almost any beach access.
But we already have that.
No, I get that, but I mean, they were using that vehicle as a off-county resident or outside resident to be able to get into that pool and have a chance of having parking done or a pass to go to the beaches. They did that prior to Ian. I don't think they've went back to that system because a lot of their parked areas are not really open yet. But that's always something to look at too, and I think Bonita did the same thing, where you could pay ahead in the off-season, where it didn't take away or diminish from the residents of the town, but still was nice to have other visitors from, whether it be Buckingham or other places, all of them to come down and be able to spend the day at the beach and still have their pass to do so. So there are programs out there, we just have to find the one that fits us, if there is one.
Yeah, I'd like to look at that option because every visitor we get in the off season is money for
Priceless.
is priceless for our small businesses.
Yep.
And if it
Well, the
doesn't,
potential certainly increases for them spending money, that's for sure.
Right.
right. Well,
So an option possibly to that line is we partner with the county in some respect. To me, just off the top of my head, simplest, we partner with the county in some respect. You make a decision if you want to honor the county pass in certain areas on the island. during the off-season for a certain period of time. We honor the county pass that they already do. We partner with them, find out what their thought process is. If there's an increase that they would do that we would take a piece of, rather than us creating a whole new pass and trying to organize that and have different colors.
I would be very hesitant to want to do that. Nothing against the county, but it doesn't need to be that convoluted. We already have a sticker that people can buy to park it.
Sure.
We just would use the same sticker.
We couldn't, because it would be, we'd have to change the color, because it would be for certain periods. Then if you're
Yeah,
going
just
to
get
do
a
it.
gold sticker.
Yeah.
Well, I thought didn't you say that the passes they buy now, year round, they can use at the beach accesses?
Are for town residents.
But
I thought we were talking for people off of
But
the city.
Yeah.
Differentiate between the two.
I mean, changing the color of a sticker is not difficult. I'm just,
Sure.
I mean, the plan, the process is already in place. It's just a matter of maybe changing the color. I just didn't know that it made sense to change the color of the sticker. But that sticker allows them to park in other places besides the.
That's how we determine.
Right.
You know, they're punched. The stickers are a certain color, and then they're punched with certain dates.
Yeah, I would support looking into the off-island stuff to,
Yeah.
you know, and whatever that program looks like. You know, maybe it's outside of season. I don't know if it's year-round.
I've got a
It might be a
I've got
way
a
to
qu-
increase revenue.
I have a question for Frankie. Isn't there like a trade show for parking once a year in the state?
Yes, there is.
Probably one for
Yeah.
everything.
But I mean,
I mean,
But we're- you know,
it covers all aspects.
our
of
vice
law
mayor's been
enforcement,
talking
but
about
they
this
do-
for years, about an app that people can,
There are apps out there, and we have looked at them over the last couple of years. We had the company that Dan was referring to earlier come in and gave us a presentation on how their system would work. Before Hurricane Ian, the town had signed up with a company that came and put little geotabs in each spot, and you'd be able to tell on your phone based on if those spots were empty or full. That got all wiped out because of Ian, and the company kind of changed, and we got away from that. So it's just finding the right fit. I mean, we have a finite number of spots.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. You have to learn how to control those finite numbers of spots. You're never gonna get all the parking people to get into an app together.
Yeah, that's
And that would
the
be the
problem.
great solution, right? So you have one unified app that where you come over that bridge, I'm at lot B, or I can get a spot down at lot C. It's just never gonna happen. It's just the old capitalism, right?
The majority of our parking is not public park. It's not owned by the city.
Correct.
It's owned by private property spaces. So to have them all buy into that is it's a tough sell, and you'd also have to we would have to have a bigger place in what they're charging, how they're charging, when they write those private summons, when they collar a car, when they're putting on something on the tire, they put a boot on the tire, which is happening a lot. We get calls about that every week.
I mean, in a perfect world for me to use technology to be able to do all that, if you could get the buy-in from all the private providers and
Sure.
the county and the town, you could say, John Richard's lot has 4 spaces open, here's what he charges.
Sure.
The county's got 5 spots open, here's what they charge, the town has this many spots. I mean, the technology's out there to do that, it's just getting the
Absolutely.
buy-in. You know, then they could see, overall, there's 1,000 parking spots available on Fort Myers Beach. I'm gonna load up my car and I'm gonna head down and I'm gonna go spend the day on the beach, cause I can find a parking spot. Or if it says 0, maybe I'm gonna take, I'm gonna
This
go
is
park.
positives and negatives, correct? I mean, I mean, people come over. I think what turns people off more of the time is the traffic over the bridge to get here, or traffic off the bridge to get out of here. So, I don't know that parking is changing that, but I mean, as you say, Mr. Mayor, I mean, technology can solve a lot of the issues. By
Well, I
all
would like
means.
to, like they do it down in Collier County, when you go to the parks, you can see they've got,
Sure.
however many spaces are available. And it determines whether you turn off at Vanderbilt Beach to go to the park or you don't.
Sure.
If it's a big red
It
X.
it makes sense.
I'm not going. So if you, again, in your spare time, if you can see what's out there.
Yeah, I will definitely, and there is a parking, there's a big one, they do it every year. I'll look into getting somebody set up if we can go have more conversation. We do have conversations with those people on a regular basis. Some of the presentations we've had, I think we're not in the best interest of the town, and we went through a lot of that. So, again, I think our ultimate goal is what's the best interest of the citizens and what's gonna serve the town the best. So I'm open to a lot of it. I haven't found one yet that really made a lot of sense. And even the the third party that we use now has a lot more in the way of opportunity, from drone work to everything else. They'll come right in for all that stuff. I just didn't see the benefit to the town yet with that.
I wonder if there's any transportation grants out there that we could apply for that would give us, kind of like a feasibility study. They've got the things that go across the road and it tracks how many vehicles come and go. It'd be interesting if there was any kind of grant out there to be able to do a study, or maybe we could use some that CBGR planning funds to see if there's a way that we could track the amount of vehicles that are coming, a daily rate of cars that are coming, would help us better understand what deficiency we're really looking at for parking. You could take the average of that and figure
Sure.
that out.
Can
Because
we-
then you have the numbers, you've got the data, you could really start to look at, does a parking app make sense? Is there one available? Once you know who's coming and how many people are coming, I think that would help alleviate a lot of the work as to, which direction our minds should go as far as the parking.
Sure. And I will reach out to Lee Dot and FDOT to see what they've done recently, and we can always request some of that through them as well, because a lot of times they do those on a regular basis, those different studies to see roadway traffic. And I know Lee Dot is doing a lot of work with the boulevard having to be repaired again. So I think they're going to be doing a lot of those studies at their cost, which
Well,
would save us
I
some
want
time.
to be careful, Tom, not to use the word study, because what I'm talking about is not a study. This is actual hard data. This
Okay.
is how many cars have driven over the strip, so to speak. We've all
Sure.
seen those words.
Yes, sir.
Counting the cars, something along those lines, to be able to give us the data. In this time, outside of season, we're seeing this much traffic. During season, we're seeing this much traffic. It would probably have to be on both ends of the island, and we'd probably need to get buy-in from the state or the county, because we'd have to do it at the bases of the bridges, maybe
Yes,
not
sir.
on this end, but it'd be interesting data to know.
I want to see what they have already, so they might have some of this already in place. So
Maybe,
I'll go
yeah.
dig into it and see what we can find.
Especially as the county's growing, it's gonna be 1 million people in the next 4 years.
Yes, sir.
They're gonna need a place to park.
And they want to come to the beach.
Mayor, I'm happy to reach out to the MPO staff to see if there's any funding out there that they're aware of.
Yeah, and I think, some of that planning money may be available to spend on that.
Yep.
That might fall within that bucket. All right. Anything else for Tom?
Good.
Good job, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda management. Scott, anything you wanted to add to the list that we already have?
I think we have enough on our plate right now, Mr. Mayor.
Another marathon meeting on
Yeah.
16th.
At this time, no.
Okay, Karen?
There, come back to me, because I
Okay.
did see one thing and I
All right.
have to go back
John?
and look at it.
I guess I'm confused about a couple of things here. I see there's 2 things for today's MFE meeting on the 5th. Ordinance expedited special exceptions and discussion regarding making of motions / specificity.
That's gonna go to the August meeting.
Okay, thank you. There's something that was brought to my attention today. It's not necessarily on the calendar, but I think maybe if we could discuss it and give staff direction in their free time as well. Issue with canals and property owners. I think, Frankie, you had some more stuff on that, or?
Yeah, we've been getting a handful of citizens in the town. When the town was platted back in 1925, the canals were dug considerably later than that, after it was platted. And you all have heard complaints and calls from citizens saying that, at the back of my house, when I go to get a deed or go to get work done or get a survey done on my property to put up a fence or a swimming pool or whatever it may be, that the land that they're showing, whether it be 4 inches all the way up to 14 feet in some spots, doesn't belong to me. And yet it's in the back of my yard where it's against a seawall or it's against a canal, and we've been paying for that for the last 25 years for that piece of property. We have a homeowner with us today, Kathy Turner, who brought it, her and her husband brought the attention to me. Their seawall was severely damaged, almost to the tune of well over $80,000 worth that they need to repair. And when they did the survey from the company, it was showing a considerable amount, almost 11 feet in some spots, that belong to the town. And it's not 11 feet, it starts at almost nothing and goes up. Talking with town council, there was avenues that we could go. We could keep it as an easement. We could ask the homeowner for an easement. But at the end of the day, the town has no use for this property, whether it's 2 inches or 11 feet against someone's seawall. And I know in other municipalities, Cape Coral is the example. You know, it's the largest municipality in Lee County. They have a regular system where they meet every week and do quick claims. You know, you come in with a verified survey, the city goes and checks that survey, and they do quick claims against the discrepancies found in those surveys. And here, through all different types of ways in going about it, I guess in my mind, struggling with it, Councilor King, is we have a homeowner that needs to make a repair that could potentially lead to another repair of their swimming pool, and yet because we don't know how to wrap our head around it, they have to wait.
Frankie,
and
I guess I would like,
So-
sorry to jump in, but I guess this would fall on you, Nancy. I would like to know, Scott,
Sorry.
Scott, maybe help me.
So we-
Did we discuss this on the open?
Yeah,
with Dan
we've
Hughes?
been talking about this for
20 years.
It
at
seems
least,
like forever.
at least 8
Yeah, I
years.
remember
So,
having a conversation.
especially Kathy's neighborhood, as you said, Frankie, they plotted it and then they dug the canals, and it's all, everything
Right.
in her neighborhood is wacky. And month after month, we get people coming and asking for variances because of this issue. You know, we talked about vacating that entire neighborhood. It's right, it's her neighborhood. I mean, that's where the 90% of the problems are. And
Where's
we,
that neighborhood? Where's your
Shellmount.
neighborhood, Kathy? Shellmount?
It's-
Shellmount?
yeah,
I'm on Madison.
yeah, so it's Madison, it's Washington, Jefferson, Denora, I mean,
Wasn't there some on Randy Lane too? I thought there was something.
yeah, I mean,
Behind
the
Dan Hughes'
vast majority is in the Shell Mound neighborhood, but we had talked about just, you know, one big swap, we just, we vacate all those.
That's what my memory
Yeah.
from DLP.
And we had talked about it, but it never got traction, so I don't know if we can leave.
Everybody okay with proceeding on, or let Kathy come up? 'Cause she's got
Sure.
a lot of
Yeah.
information. Come on up, Kathy.
Thank you. I appreciate
And as she walks up here, I mean, her husband Kevin and I and Dr. Kohler have been involved with discussions for quite a while.
Yeah.
With her, and I've probably got another handful of people on my desk that have the same
Yeah,
issues.
we also have, I mean, I've been contacted numerous times in the last 6 months by realtors who, you know, their clients wanna buy a property, they wanna understand
What it means, yeah.
what, if they can build a pool, if they can't, so, I mean, it's, this issue's not going away, we need to come up with
Okay.
a resolution.
So, again, I don't have the hard information in front of me. Before Ian, there was an attempt by the town to settle this with properties on Denora. And it was Denora and Shellmount. It did not include my street. They sent out a offer to all of the residents or the owners along the canal that for $2,500, they would
That's what it was.
they would
That's what it was.
transfer the property.
That's right, I remember that.
And the condition was that they needed 100% of those offered to accept, which was, to me, was disingenuous.
I
It was
remember
just-
having that argument with the town manager.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now that makes
So,
makes
and at that
sense.
time, what the problem was is that
Let's make
it
money off
wasn't a
people.
good relationship to get a permit.
Right.
It was like, you want a new seawall, put it at the property line and cut it back.
Oh.
That's not, I hope you don't think that's us anymore.
No, no, but the trepidation is, and I will be very, very honest with you
Sure.
on that. Well, I have a double lot, I have 160 feet.
Jeez.
So we've had estimates up from 80 to 120, and they look you straight in the eye and they say, okay, if you only wanna do half where it's damaged, we can guarantee you we'll be back here in 5 or 10 years and it's gonna cost you double.
Sure.
Whereas, you know, instead of 80, it'll be 120 if you do it all right now.
Right.
So, given the prior administration that I lived through, I'm concerned about spending $100,000 on something that doesn't belong to me.
Sure.
And we're gonna need a dock, we're gonna need the lift replaced, this is all money, and FEMA didn't pay for 5 cents of any of it.
Right.
So, that's what we're looking to figure out. You know, we received guidance from our council that, Cape Coral does it prevalently. It's one of his mainstays of his business as an attorney in real estate. So I'm just looking to see how to handle this respectfully. and quickly, cause we got a real little window. It was, the seawall was damaged with Ian, and Helene
Yeah.
did a little bit more, and Milton did a little bit more, and now it's buckling.
Crumbling it, yeah, and it's washing out from underneath.
Correct,
I-
correct.
This also affects their property values, and I know Kathy's gonna say, but, you know, the neighbor's thinking of selling, you know.
Yeah.
They
So
can't sell.
Nancy, what's the quickest path? Because
So I have some questions as well.
Sure.
This issue has come to me, and I have been involved in it. The one thing that nobody has really made clear to me is who owns the seawall. Maybe that can be discussed today, because you guys have
Kathy?
knowledge and background. Is it privately owned? No, it is a town asset. What was asked of me was basically to prepare a quitclaim deed for Ms. Turner, but I was not, for me to prepare a quitclaim deed and deed away from one of the town's assets, one small piece, and then have the rest of the seawall owned by
Right.
the town, didn't really make logical sense. I am very concerned about her, her situation, because she does have a damaged seawall that may result in additional damage. So we do need direction from town council if you want to get rid of all of that
Well-
seawall, otherwise you're gonna be doing it piece by
Well,
piece.
common sense would, to me, would say to vacate all of the issues that this has arise from this. Then can you
But it
do
would
that
be
legally?
it would be the entire seawall. Yes, you would be giving up any interest that the town has, on that seawall and any of those properties that have that piece of property between her property line and the seawall, because I think that's like the no man's land. There may be, the state of Florida may have an interest in the property as well, as far as sovereignty submerged land. However, if the town gives a quitclaim deed, we are just saying anything that we own regarding the seawall or that no man's land area, we are giving away. And if others have interest, that's not really our issue anymore. We're giving you everything that we have. If we have nothing, you're getting nothing, but whatever we have, you get. And that's what a quitclaim deed accomplishes. So I'm not opposed, to providing a quitclaim deed. However, if we do it for one property owner, we're still gonna have the town owning the rest of that seawall. And in the future, if you decide to do something with that seawall or decide to do something else, we then have to go back and renegotiate, trying to get back some of the town's asset. But if the policy direction is to go ahead and get rid of that entire seawall, if you're gonna ask for consideration, as it sounds like in the past had been done, that's fine, we can accomplish that. But I did have hesitancy of just giving one little piece.
Sure, well, that doesn't make sense to me.
And then keeping the rest.
Yeah.
I did speak with Frankie about going back to you, Ms. Turner, and seeing if we could go ahead and do some kind of emergency repair. I am concerned about how it's been represented, the condition of that seawall and your pool. We may, the delay and the indecision, may get us into a situation where it's financially bad for the property owner as well as the town.
So what's your what's your recommendation as far as
We need-
vacating? Can we vacate the property? Does that do the same thing as a quitclaim deed for these
It
property owners?
does, but then you're creating a pocket, cause she has an immediate need to address the repairs.
If
But
I-
you're creating a pocket in the rest of your ownership.
But no, the entire length of her street, if you vacated that entire right of way to the
That would
property
be a
owners.
policy decision and direction that you could give us, yes.
But that would
we could do
eliminate
that.
what you're talking about with the quitclaim deed as far as,
We would do a quitclaim deed to basically each property owner.
okay, so
And
it'd
then
be
the
a
town
two-step
is,
thing.
yeah, the town is out of the whole picture, and they take the seawall and any type of liability or maintenance responsibilities, it would all be pushed to the I'm going this way, it should actually be this way, to the property
No,
owner.
you're doing it from a boat.
Yeah, in Nancy's defense, initially when her and I had this discussion, as far as looking at possible easements, that would have been, the ideal because it's town property, right? And you're letting someone else use town property, which is the definition of an easement. However, we have no utilities that are ever gonna go between the end of the property and a seawall. We don't function in that world. So that kind of took that out of that realm. We had reached out by direction to offer a license, which in essence of just being able to go ahead and repair or get the repair and the town might absorb, and that's not a feasible option either. So we've talked several times, and then I in turn talked with Ms. Turner, so it's been going on for a while.
Well, we're holding up Ms.
Yeah.
Turner and
Yeah,
probably
what-
other people.
What about the outfalls? I mean, does the town have quite a number of outfalls?
So where that is, that's an easement, okay? So where you
Right.
have an outfall in the seawall, there's already an easement in there from the stormwater line going
get
through
to
your
it.
property. So that
Are
is a
we,
town
are
easement.
we planning to have more outfalls in that area?
That I don't know. I don't know where they're progressing. However, if the outfall, if the easement along the property line already exists, I'm not talking about the canal property line. I'm talking about the property line between another adjacent property. If that already exists for a utility to go through, all we would be doing is updating that utility. Well, we're not talking about the seawall or the inconsistencies in this no man's land little sliver here that we're dealing. If they have to put an outfall out through that seawall, they're not only doing that, but they're also repairing the seawall as they go and make that connection.
I think for me, it'd be important to get, how many properties are we talking about?
Yeah,
To get,
we could definitely get going on that, but,
So-
bring them to
Yeah.
us so that we can give you the policy decision to.
but,
Yes,
make it
and,
happen.
and the analogy that I would use, I mean, this is the town owns the seawall, the town may have an interest in that no man's, we'll call it no man's land.
Mystery land.
Strip,
Mystery
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go, mystery
Um,
land.
You can analogize it to a roadway, okay? Are we going to sever out and convey away a piece of a road because there's a pothole there? We have a deficient seawall. We would go fix that pothole just like we probably could or should go fix that seawall. The property owner then is offering to help us because she's got an immediate need that we do have to address. And that's where the idea of a license or some kind of easement allowing her to go ahead and make the repair, talking to town administration about perhaps paying for some of it or working it out because she's doing what we as a town probably should be doing. We will have concerns and we'll have liability issues in the event that seawall goes down.
And my pool is about 1 foot from where the rear property line is. And the elevation between the pool and the seawall is feet. I don't know if it's 5 feet, 6 feet. So that pool has a good chance of moving.
So we have really an immediate repair that we need to get either the town
Correct.
to get involved and get it done or to allow Ms. Turner
So what could,
through a
what,
license and easement to get it done and come back to the town. Or from a policy perspective, if you do want to deed that property by quitclaim to her, you can do that. Legally you can, but I'm just cautioning you, you're then creating that hole, just like if you had a roadway with a pothole, you're now cutting that out, giving that to private ownership and keeping the rest public. That's where I
Well,
think we are.
if we haven't used that property by now, what is that? What are we gonna use it for?
It could be surplus. You would declare it surplus property, and then at that situation, you would deed it to the property owners that are adjacent to it.
To me, that just makes sense. It's your backyard.
So I have a question. So I'm just thinking of timing on all this. It sounds like we're all in agreement that this should happen. I mean, it's been a nuisance and a headache for everyone. But June 16th is our last meeting. And then we don't have a meeting again until August, which that cuts out a whole month and a half for you to get something done.
Of hurricane season.
And hurricane season coming, well, it is here, but I'm talking August, September, October. What is the possibility of getting all this infrastructure that we need to do this on the 16th?
Or is there a way to administratively deal with this one
This one, and
And
then
codify
deal
it.
with the rest of it?
and codify it
Yeah,
later?
my recommendation would be that we take that the town takes some kind of action to address this specific, issue. I don't know how many other property owners along that seawall also
Right.
have damage. But by analogy, it's the same as having, a defect in one of your roadways, and somebody's car is gonna get
Well,
damaged.
I think, Nancy, we all understand that. I guess what we're at now is,
How
how
do
do,
we get-
how do
how
we
do we do
address
it?
this for her now? Because she's been the one that has been the most vocal about it, rightfully so. Okay, is there a way to administratively deal with that today to allow staff to do what they need to do to let her get moving on what she wants to do, and codifying it later with the decision I think that we're all kind of leading to?
Well, I think that working through Frankie, I've suggested possibly giving her an easement that would allow her to do that, and in the absence of an easement, just giving her the license to go make the repair. But I heard $11,000 for
No,
the repair, but
it's,
now it's 80.
Talking with Kathy and Kevin yesterday, on my way home, it's more like between $80,000 and $100,000.
Right,
Yeah.
so
Because I'm
it-
assuming you'd wanna do both your properties at once, you're not.
I'm gonna do the whole
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
yeah, if it's my property.
Yeah.
If it's not, I think I've been politely, clear that it's the town's property. If my pool goes, then that the town has a problem.
Right.
And that's what I
agree.
wanna desperately avoid. I don't wanna be picking a pool out of the canal.
So the direction could be to go ahead and allow staff to work with Ms. Turner to figure out financially what potentially could be a resolution of it, and let's get her seawall fixed before it escalates and becomes a greater liability for the town as well
Oh,
as.
correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, it sounds to me like it's not a financial issue, it's just you wanna make sure that you own the land to be able to go forward with the fixing, right?
I'm good. You do a quick
So-
claim
so
deed,
Nancy,
I'm
that's-
done. I'm not
But-
looking for one
But the
penny.
fixing is of a town asset.
Right, but how, okay,
Vacate the
how do,
asset.
how do we administratively allow her, and legally and administratively allow her to legally have the right to do that, knowing she's going to get the land, we'll codify it later?
The right to do it would be through a license agreement or some type of easement.
I'd have to talk to council,
Yeah, I did
because
speak with
it's
your
a lot of
attorney,
money for,
Mr. Madden. I spoke with him about this. He said he would discuss it with you and your husband, as far as accepting an easement to get that repair done.
And
But
then-
you say easement, but on the other hand, you're saying that you don't know, you can't establish the ownership of that.
It would be-
And that's in contradiction, my understanding.
So it would be an easement to allow you to repair it based on any right that the town had in that seawall. I don't have,
And then what guarantee that I have that you codified this correctly with a quick claim deed? Again, I'm not dealing with the current, this is no reflection on the current administration.
right.
It's no reflection on the new town manager. I lived through the prior administration, and at times it was not nice. So, I'm trying to do this respectfully.
Sure.
Um,
And you have, so the question to the council is, do you want to give up ownership of a part of the seawall, which we could accomplish through a quitclaim deed? Do you want to release the opportunity for her to go and repair it and maintain it, but still retain ownership?
No.
Or
No.
do you want to just allow the repair to be made?
I go for number one, the quitclaim deed, you own it, we're out of it, you go
Okay,
get your
so then
repairs.
the town would continue to own the remainder?
No, I think you need,
No.
this is an immediate one, I think you would do the same thing for the entire length of,
Right,
Okay,
at least that's what I'm hearing.
And it varies on the canal
what I
side.
think, too.
Talking with Kathy, it goes, again, from anywhere from 2 inches all the way up to 22 feet. But the 22 feet, again, is in someone's backyard that they've had for 20 years and been maintaining and mowing and repairing as they went along. And they would come to council if you have any interest or see future interest in going in someone's backyard and doing something in the future.
Well, I don't wanna charge her $2,500, I don't wanna have to go get 100% sign off from her neighborhood. I mean, I'm reiterating what I said, now, it's all coming back to me.
Oh,
It's all
absolutely.
coming back to me, but I was in the minority then, so.
It's like a bad
it was-
dream.
yeah.
so what the direction could be is at your meeting on the 16th, that we would have a quitclaim deed, that you would be conveying the property to her because it is surplus to the town.
Yes, and then that will allow you time to work on the remaining part of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
We
And
will
as
need a
they-
survey,
As they come in, I
which
mean,
you probably have a survey?
we do. Yep,
Yeah,
have
I
it
gave
right
it
here.
to Frank.
Okay,
So what,
okay.
Does that meet your needs, Kathy, on the 16th?
That's awesome. I can go back on good faith with the vendor,
Right, and
and
keep
they have a
moving
slot,
on
we
it.
can get it in July, but if I wait till August, then I'm in
Right.
trouble.
So are we.
So, absolutely.
So on June 16th, we'll bring this as an agenda item. You can keep moving forward, and then we can look at all the rest of the properties. If they're interested, if they're not interested, just do it.
well, that was my next question, is what, What if there's a property owner that says, I don't want the land, I want you
And then you're gonna own a piece of a seawall
Okay.
that someone.
Could be an
I mean,
outfall if we need it.
Exactly, and you don't have outfalls on your property, right? We don't have an
No.
outfall.
No, my
Okay.
property goes up Madison, left on Shell Mound,
Okay.
and dumps it in the canal there.
Okay, very
And
good.
there's one further down that's going towards the bay with the outflow.
So I think the policy direction, or the
Direction.
consensus direction, I don't wanna speak for everyone, but is identify all the properties that this pertains to.
Mhm.
Get Kathy moving on her quitclaim deed for the 16th, and preparing the rest of however
Yes.
many of these numbers are.
And again, I'll just be asking, in the quitclaim deed will state that, that this is surplus property to the town, that we don't have an immediate use for this property, and that there's no utilities. I mean, that's very routine, to do that.
Yeah.
Some of the other properties that do have an outfall, we would basically work around that. We would not be, quitclaiming that away, if there's
I agree.
along
Because
that
the easement
seawall.
already goes through part of that property, and there's already been an established easement on record.
But we don't even know, if any of these properties that are in the same boat as Kathy's
Correct.
have an
Right.
outfall.
Are there other properties along that seawall that have damage?
That we don't know.
I don't know.
Because my recommendation would be that that be prioritized, so that if there is another property owner in the same situation that she's in, that we immediately address it.
Is this something maybe Curtis could go with the town boat through these
Well,
canals and identify, take pictures?
Yes, we can either get Curtis or we can get, like Kimberly Horn, that comes here with their boats to do surveys and just do canal work with one of our employees and take photos of those canals.
Cause it'd be interesting to know how many on the island are in this same
Right.
situation.
Yeah, and again, just the analogy of the pothole in the road, you don't want cars getting hurt, you don't want her property, her pool. There may be other people that have the same.
Yeah, and to your point, Mr. Mayor, you really don't know until you have to do a survey. So when they did a survey for their seawall repair and their pool repair, that's when it became a glaring thing to saying, hey, you don't really have this is actually somebody else. So until somebody actually does a survey, which we can't force somebody to do a survey of their property, I think once you take care of the Turners, and as Nancy said, we just kind of get that in place, and we can deal with people as they come.
Now, if you go to LIPA, you can get an idea of the property lines. This is my house, I gave Frankie copies. And you can see where the property line is versus where the seawall is. And if you go up the street, the canals were not built
Straight.
parallel to the roads. They go like this. So there's one house on the end of the street that in theory, their property line is into the street.
Yeah.
Because it's cut so far in the back.
Do you know approximately how many property owners are along that canal, or that seawall? That share your seawall,
Let me see,
approximately,
10,
okay.
12.
You're just trying to figure out how much work you've got ahead of you?
Well, it's manageable, The
For that canal.
we can definitely get her on the 16th, and then hopefully by August maybe, but
Yeah.
Frankie,
Yeah.
I'll need to work with you on the surveys.
No problem. Yeah,
Okay,
All right,
Aye.
so you have copies of my survey?
I do,
you
and
can
I'll
share?
make sure that they all have that.
Okay,
So get on the phone with your people.
I thank you so much, it was a great timing, so I thank you for having me.
Thanks,
All right,
Kevin.
thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, Steph.
Anything else, John?
No, that's it. Thank you.
The only thing I wanted to maybe potentially add, if the council thinks it's worth having some sort of discussion, is, as this mitigation wall is gaining traction,
Yep.
to have something on an M&P meeting where we could strategize and put together a plan to be proactive, reaching out to the property owners, formulating a plan of how the cost, if there's gonna be cost sharing, what would it look like? Is it something we could get through grants to pay for the entire thing, so it's not a cost? I would really like to have a discussion of, so when we get Elizabeth back with whatever numbers, we're ready to hit the ground running, to get this moving, because we know how the wheels of government move. It'd be nice to get this moving sooner than later, because I think everyone on council is in support of this mitigation wall. So that'd be one thing I'd like to add to maybe the August,
August 7th.
the August M&P meeting.
No, the M&P
And if
meeting
staff
should
could come
be
back
like
with
at
some
9.
suggestions, maybe
Yes, sir.
reach out to Clearwater and figure out how they did it, Fort Lauderdale, you know, what is it they did, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we do have a lot of stubborn, that's a bad word.
Passionate.
We have a lot of passionate property owners along the beach.
We do.
And formulate the plan that when we go to them to be proactive, lay out exactly what it would mean to them to participate in doing this. And then we would at least have something we could help with Elizabeth go as, with a design and say, these are hard no's that are not gonna move, maybe now you can design around that, as she had said in her presentation. It's not, it's okay to not have continuous, it can, then you could design around that, so we could get moving pretty quickly.
Yep, I'll get with her.
Yeah, it would be the 8/7 M&P meeting, if we could do that. Oh,
And if by then, if Elizabeth has any more information that we could, maybe she could help come back if she's available to come back and say, you know, here's what I think you should do, or here's what we've learned in the past, and maybe give us some guidance, or if she, doesn't necessarily have to come, but if she can relay that to you guys.
I thought she was coming back on the June 16th meeting with more updates and planning and that kind of thing. Is she not?
I think, I have talked to her several times, so they're a vetted vendor of ours. So, a couple of other issues. I believe they have a presentation available, they're just waiting for the right time to come and present it again. So,
Well, doesn't it have to go through the RFP or RFQ and all that?
no, because they're a vendor of ours, so it'd be.
But we'd have to have a contract with them, I think she doesn't have a contract with us.
Correct, correct. So
For
it
this.
was part of our professional services that we just vetted, and you just agreed to at the last council meeting.
Right.
So once we get that contract in place with their firm, it's actually a professional service agreement with them, for their firm, we can.
We would do
we
a
can
task
proceed.
order.
Right, we can do a task
And
order.
again, is this is something that could come out of that CDBGR planning fund as well, couldn't it?
Not with that, because that was given to one group only to do studies. So the grant is awarded to a vendor, that wasn't this vendor. So the CDBGR was given to a planning firm to come and do various
Got
parts
it,
of
okay,
planning.
Okay,
but-
so it wasn't
Yeah,
a discretionary.
It's not just broad brush
Got it.
planning, correct.
Okay.
So along those lines then, if she's not coming in on the 16th, and if we're talking about this in M&P, is there any benefit to having her present something just more big picture and costs and that kind of thing August 4th, so that we have some guidelines to go with on August 7th M&P?
We could definitely have her here for that.
Well, I'm just wondering what she would present. I mean, if she doesn't have a contract, she's not gonna probably put a ton of work into it.
Well, but the contract is just a matter of now that now that it's gone through council and you have vetted their services, it's just reaching out and doing that now. So just getting the exchange of signed documents back and forth between her firm and the town, that shouldn't take but days to accomplish that. As far as getting costs, don't forget, this is a project that they have ongoing in Bonita in certain areas. So it's very close, it's very fresh, it's basically.
Well, they have some on the
our
island
turn.
too. with
Sandpiper.
the outrigger
Exactly,
project.
exactly. So they're moving along.
Sandpiper.
They have
Sandpiper
costs
too.
in place already that they can estimate from.
Well, I'd be
So-
interested to see what their design is for, you know, what their design is for their clients that they have for the
Sure,
Sandpiper
sure.
and for Outrigger, to see what that looks like and how would it work with what we're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish.
Outrigger, Sandpiper is
Another
included
one.
in that. There's a third one, I can't remember which, well, Elizabeth will know.
Yeah. yeah.
Oh, the
And-
7-Elevens.
Oh, yeah.
7-Eleven has one too.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven down on the south end.
condo.
Oh, the condo in front of the 7-Eleven? Why would 7-Eleven need a mitigation
I
wall?
don't know, she told me 7-Elevens are
Oh.
in, she's in touch with, she's working with the 7-Elevens on the island.
Oh, well, just as an update on the way down, I noticed they were working on the one across from the old
Yeah.
Junkanoo.
Yeah.
So they're cutting up the concrete and.
Yeah.
But we could easily arrange all that and have her ready to go August 4th, with a perceived pricing plan. And then also expound on some of the projects that they currently have in place. And that would give us the information we need to proceed for the August 7th meeting.
I'm good with that.
Would love that.
All right, going back to you, Karen. You said come back?
Come back, I'm back at the canals. Where are we, if anywhere, and where can we be on dredging and grants and what we need to do? Our canals are a mess. They are so full of sand and everything else. I hear it all the time. I can't get our boat off, can't get our boat off the lift, can't do this, can't do that.
So at the moment, any grant that we would get to help us with dredging would be at the federal level, and they're not available at the moment. So that door's kind of been temporarily closed until they get a,
Well, we would have to have a plan in
reevaluation.
place. We would have to have an actual,
No, but I mean, any grant that we would go for, we have the plan in place based on some information we've already gotten, besides sonar. We had part of our closeout with Daniel Tomzak and that group from FEMA that did our long-term recovery plan. They brought in a bunch of sedimentology professionals that went and looked at the outfalls and saw where they needed to be based on sedimentary data that they had. So we have plenty of metrics that we could throw at it. We just have to find that dancing partner that'll help pay for it.
well, I think that's what I was getting at, when I
Yeah.
meant plan, is
Yeah.
we can have all the data we want, but if we don't have a plan to implement all that data, then it's really not a plan. You know, I think Sanibel, if memory serves me correct, they manage the entire dredging of all their canals, but it's paid for, I think, through the property owners, which ties
It's
into
an
the last discussion we
assessment,
just
yeah.
had.
A special assessment, they do that in Naples as well.
Yeah.
So is that, does that, but because they have that plan in place, that's why they were able to get assistance from FEMA.
That is correct.
And that's
Right.
why
That
they're
is
able to get granted. We don't have that plan. I think we
We
need to get that
yes.
plan in place.
We need to get it quickly in place.
Cause I know some canal owners are ponying up their own money and dredging their own canals.
Well, I can tell you this, as far as on staff side, that between Chad, myself, and a few of our contractors that we have, we could definitely give you a prospectus moving forward at your next, August 4th meeting on a concrete plan to move forward. And that would also allow us time to find out if there's any kind of state or axillary grants that are floating out there that would help us in that.
Well, just thinking off the top of my head, Aetna, we already have under contract, right, for the beach renourishment, their dredgers. Can we reach out to them since we already have them under
Sure
contract
can.
and give us a bid as to what it would cost to do the canals?
We
That
sure
would be
can.
great.
They may
Instead of
actually
having-
be the contractor that's doing the dredging in Naples,
Yeah.
if I remember, but I'm old.
But because they're under contract, Nancy, we could,
Oh, yeah,
we
they-
could
but
reach out to
it-
them and say, give
It is
us
a
a.
service that they provide, is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
in another community.
But I meant without having to send it out for bid, is that something they could provide us an estimate to do?
Are they in our professional service?
No, they were done under the FWC and other state entity along with the town of Fort Myers Beach. So that buys us part of that contract. We could ask for an amendment to the services currently ongoing and see how that would proceed.
Or at least a ballpark of, this is,
Correct.
you know, not gonna tie anybody to it, but what, a ballpark price of this is what you'd be looking at to do it. At least that'd give us a starting point to be able to formulate a plan of
And
how.
I know Chad had also reached out to the dredger who did the county, and we talked to them, probably about a month ago.
Maybe piggyback on that
Yeah,
contract?
yeah, so there are things out there. We just will present our plan and you decide which direction you want us to go.
Can we do that for August 4th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's why I have a pontoon, man. You float those things in 6 inches of water, you're good.
Yeah, well,
I'm
we
just
don't.
kidding.
Hey, it was hard enough to
You draft
get,
a little more than 6 inches?
no, it was hard enough to get outboards on this man, much less a pontoon.
Oh, wow, he went to an outboard?
He went 2 outboards,
Oh,
yeah.
the earth just shifted. on
I
its
know,
axis.
it shifted,
What?
the sands shifted.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, anything else,
Mr.
Karen?
Lake Man, nope,
Yeah.
nope, I'm good.
All right, with that,
Move to adjourn.
all right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?